My sister's scream cracked through the marble lobby like a champagne glass shattering. "Get out! You are not welcome in our five-star hotel," she spat, her voice shaking with the thrill of finally kicking me out of something she never built. My father stood beside her, a man of polished suits and hollow loyalties, nodding as if this exile was an act of virtue. I remember how their eyes burned with certainty. They believed they had won. I remember how I smiled. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't defend myself, I simply pulled my phone from my pocket, thumb hovering over a security command only a true owner would possess. "Security," I said, calm as winter steel. "Revoke the Harrington family's VIP access." Their keycards stopped working at midnight. But this moment, their confusion, their slow, dawning fear, was only the climax. The truth had started long before the locks clicked against them. There was a time when my father introduced me as the future of the Harrington legacy. A time when my sister used to run into my room asking for advice on everything from investments to dates. Back then, loyalty felt simple, solid. Then the hotel empire expanded, and so did their hunger. The first shift was small, a board meeting I wasn't invited to, an investor dinner I heard about only through whispers. My father claimed it was oversight. My sister smiled too quickly, too brightly. People don't look you in the eye when they're preparing to cut your throat, at least not the Harringtons. It didn't take much to see the pattern. Documents missing, legal papers altered, financial reports edited. Tiny cracks, nearly invisible unless you were the one being pushed out. The undeniable evidence came wrapped in stupidity. A careless email chain where my sister congratulated my father for cleanly phasing me out before the transfer of ownership. They hadn't even bothered encrypting it. Arrogance always makes betrayal messy. The shock hit me first, then the cold. The kind of cold that sharpens instead of shatters. I didn't yell, I didn't confront them. I simply stopped trusting and started calculating. They thought I'd crumble. They expected emotion, outrage, desperation. But I learned early that silence is a weapon. So I let them believe I was distracted, defeated, drifting. In reality, I was documenting every move they made. I pulled the hotel's original contracts, looked at the inheritance clauses they hadn't bothered to read, found the legal loopholes that put me back in control, not through inheritance, but through an investment rewrite I had signed with the founder years ago, a clause that shifted ownership to me if the board acted in bad faith. And their betrayal, conveniently, was on paper. I didn't need revenge immediately. I needed timing. Everything tastes better when served cold. First, the lawyers. Quiet, efficient, loyal only to the contract. Then the board, most of whom despised my father's recent power grabs. All they needed was proof of misconduct. My sister had gifted me more than enough. Next came the silent restructuring. Ownership moved like a shadow, from possibility to certainty, without my father noticing a thing. By the time they tried to push me out publicly, I already owned the ground they were standing on. All I had to do was wait for the perfect moment to let them fall. Which brings us back to the lobby, the chandeliers glowing, the Harrington name shimmering in gold on the wall, my father and sister standing before me, believing I was powerless. "Get out," my sister repeated, her voice trembling with triumph. I met her eyes and finally felt nothing. No grief, no anger, just a closure that felt almost merciful. I made the call. The head of security approached them before the echo of my words faded. "Mr. Harrington, Miss Harrington, your access has been revoked. Your accounts are frozen. You are no longer authorized to remain on the premises." Their faces collapsed in slow motion. My father reached for his wallet, as if the leather held power. My sister tried her keycard against the scanner, denial lighting her face, then fear, Then understanding. "I own the hotel now," I said, my voice steady, "and I don't welcome guests who steal." She opened her mouth to argue, but the security guards were already escorting them toward the revolving doors. For once, the world didn't bend to their entitlement. When the doors spun shut behind them, the lobby felt bigger, quieter. I breathed in the scent of cedar and polished stone, the scent of something reclaimed. I didn't need an apology. I didn't need them to understand. Justice isn't about being seen. It's about balance. And as their silhouettes disappeared into the streetlights outside, I finally felt the scale tip back to where it always should have been. I wasn't cast out of a legacy. I simply took back what was already mine.